Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner to Corner. I'm Tom Vassell.
Hey everybody, it's me, Richard Rahdo Ham.
If you're watching or listening to this, if you would let us know who is louder, and I'll fix the mics accordingly.
It will
But
be
welcome.
Tom.
It might be. Um, Welcome to the first week of November, the last sixth of the year. Winter is here for some people. Time change has gone by for some people. When I walk in the morning, it's now light. Do you have
Do
time
you
change in
actually
your
think
state?
of years in terms of sixths? I've never heard anybody say the final sixth of the year.
It's a math nerd thing. When I used to work at a mundane job, I worked in an assembly line type thing, and I would just count the hours. I'd be like, "All right, we are 2/3 of the way done. We're 3/8," and people next to me would be like, "Shut up!" So I did it in my head.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Winter, Christmas, it's holiday season.
Yep.
Um, oh, everyone says we're both pretty loud. Well, that's a compliment, I think.
All right.
Maybe.
You're getting better at this, Tom.
All right, tell us what the game is in front of you.
Oh, this is Transcontinental, which I think is going on live on Kickstarter next week. I need to film it in the next couple days. It's a very cool worker placement game, and here's the thing I love about it. I've got my worker. I placed it over here because I want to go to the coal mine. Opposite of the train tracks, there are two spaces I could go to the coal mine to either activate the industrial city or the farm and try to get combos. And all of these worker placement spots are scattered around semi-randomly as part of setup. So you get a very, very different, series of combo little mini steps you can take throughout the game. And over the course of the game, the train goes from east to west and unlocks more worker placement spots. And it's just a super sharp little game. And unlike most train games, I know you play them, I know you love them, this is so bright and colorful, and it's just full of really clever mechanisms I haven't seen before. I'm really impressed by it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that looks interesting. So this is who's the publisher?
It's a little independent. Let's see. It is Wheelhouse Games.
I do not believe I know them. I will look it up though.
Yeah, you should check it out. I think you'll dig it. I really do, considering your love
Wheelhouse
of
Games has
rolling
done.
freight and a lot of those kinds of games.
I do. This is the only game they've done. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
this actually won a few design awards a few years ago, and I think the designer, has been working on it and getting really polished. I mean, I love the look of this game. Why
interesting that you
doesn't
said it's.
Railways of the World or Age of Steam look as bright and beautiful and colorful? America is a colorful country, Tom.
I. Who are you talking to? I'm not arguing with you on this. Um, I will. I do wonder why you call it little game when I see the time says 75 to 150 minutes. I
Yeah,
might argue that that's not little. Seems like a
yeah.
full weight game. Alrighty, folks. Well, welcome. We're just going to get jumping right into this because last time, I actually had someone tell me they were disappointed last time that we
Oh,
stopped when we did. And I was like,
when
well,
did
we
we
could have
stop?
gone on for 3 hours. Well, we were talking about Essen games,
Oh, sure.
the games being released, and there's so very many. So maybe in the future when it happens, we'll make it a somewhat part series or something, you
We did kind
know?
of leave him hanging. It's true. I mean, we were just going along and then just stopped.
Well, I left myself hanging. There's a lot of interesting games, and there's more. I keep finding out about more all the time. Eric Martin just put up his November, December list of games,
Yeah.
and it's already peppered with all kinds of cool games and things.
Yep.
Alrighty, so we each week look at some different mechanisms here. We will finish this at some point. We're moving along, so we have two today because we always pick. It seems like every other one is one that's not in games that Rahdo often plays with. And the first one here is communication limits. Although I'm assuming you've played a few games because there are a couple games of this with only two people.
Oh no, I mean communication limits. I mean, we had this argument about this when we did our top 10 most influential games of the last decade, and I had my big spiel about how important Hanabi is because it really brought to the forefront the idea of imperfect communication in straight cooperative games, and I love it. I mean, if it weren't for the imperfect communication in Gloomhaven, I don't think it would rank so highly for me. I love working with somebody, but having to sit on certain information and hope that they can figure out what I'm trying to go for. In this, in code names, in crew, It is one of my absolute favorite things that has evolved. And I know it's been around for a long time, but traditionally in competitive games, bringing imperfect or communication limits apparently into cooperative games is such a game changer.
It is. It feels weird though. I have a big problem with. There's a
Yeah.
few problems I have. One I have a big problem with is the game telling you to just kind of be coy, but not giving you those limits. Like, for example, in
Mm,
Shadows over Camelot, they say,
yeah.
hey, you can talk about your hands, but you can't say exactly what's in your hand. So everyone goes, I have I can help you in a really small way. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, just say you have a one. And I still see this in games where they kind of are like, well, you cannot tell your people exactly what's in your hand. That's not helpful to me at all.
Yeah. No, I've seen this occasionally. I cover a Kickstarter game that has improv communication, and there'll be a section of the rule book that just, like I said, is very coy about it. And like, no, you need to say exactly what we're allowed to say and not say, because I mean, otherwise, as players, we're just left. Well, what are the actual rules? Are we cheating now? I'm not, and that just leaves you uncomfortable and unsatisfied. Did you actually earn the win? So, I mean, I think it's a relatively new thing. Again, it's been around forever. It's a staple of party games, but seeing it work its way into more and more, modern heavy cooperative games, I think publishers are still kind of learning best practices.
And there's other games where I don't mind if the game has full communication or not. A good example of this would be Pandemic. If you
Yeah.
play on the easy level of Pandemic, you're supposed to play with all your cards face up. Then if you play in medium mode, you pick them up. You can still
Is
tell
that
everyone
is that
what's in them.
true? As I
Yeah.
recall, the original first edition of Pandemic, it was just everybody has to play with their hands closed, and it was an alpha gamer solution.
Well,
And I
not in the
thought in
easy,
future
not on
reprints they
evil.
pulled that out, right?
Well, on easy level, it was always
Oh, is it?
hands up.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you kept them in your hand. But they seem to have backed away from that because at least with the Pandemic Legacy games,
Yeah.
they basically say play with your hand on the table.
Yeah.
And if you're allowed to tell someone exactly what's in your hand, then just play with your hand on the table. It just saves time. Um, I will say that communication limits can sometimes frustrate me. So I
Oh.
love Unlock, but there's a
Oh.
couple
Okay.
Unlock scenarios that split the party. And you are no longer together. You are now communicating across the table. And sometimes there's a communication barrier, especially if you are, say, an adult playing with kids. That can be tricky. And I don't know, I don't always like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I mean, you played a ton of Gloomhaven, and as far as I know, I think for the most part you've played it solo, right? But
I
you
played
must
a
have
decent
played
amount
it
of
multiplayer.
solo, and I played it multiplayer. But when I played it multiplayer, I'll be honest, I tend to ignore that rule
You're a
because
monster.
no, the game's already hard enough, and I don't care. And I also
Okay.
I'm a firm believer of if you're having fun, who cares?
Yeah,
You know,
fair enough. So you
it's
were
also a
just
cooperative
knowingly,
game.
effectively. I mean, actually, it is officially part of the game that you can adjust the difficulty level, and one of the ways you're supposed to increase the difficulty level, or if you decide to decrease the difficulty level by allowing everybody to openly discuss, yeah, I'm going to move with the speed of 13, and so you know that you're safe to go
Oh,
before me or whatever, that you're
I
supposed to
think
bump the difficulty level up to compensate. And I guess if you didn't bump the difficulty level up, that just meant you were talking but playing one level below. So you were cheating in that you were giving yourself too much experience. But you probably weren't playing an ongoing
you know
campaign
what? I don't
anyway,
even care
so
if I
it
give
probably
myself too
comes
much
out in the wash.
experience. You don't get enough experience in Gloomhaven. I want more. But I don't. We don't say the numbers. We say low or high
Okay.
number. But we do say I'm going to go stab that guy and hit him with a fireball. We pretty much say exactly what we're going to do. I don't have
Yeah.
all the numbers memorized, so that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
But some games I'm not going to do that in. So I'm looking through these games like Magic Maze. In Magic Maze,
There's
you very
what's the restriction in
specifically,
Magic Maze?
well, you can't talk.
Oh, of course, yes, right. That's the entire game. Yeah.
Right. So I
All you
don't.
can do is go
Right. And
ah!
I
and
don't
slam
do
that thing on the
that.
table.
But then there's a big debate in one of the biggest games in this genre, which is the Mind,
Yeah.
right? And in the Mind, everyone's playing a card in order, and you're not allowed to talk. So technically, you're not supposed to communicate, even in the nth degree. But I've yet to play with a group that doesn't communicate a little bit. Like someone who has a low card will start inching it out because they have a low card. Or I saw someone one time take a card and sit on that card.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, they must have either the 98 or the 100 or something. And I found that to be amusing. Everyone at the table found it to be amusing. We still didn't win the game, but that was like you're pushing the communication a little bit. But some people don't want any communication at all, in which case I wonder, should you play games?
I have played a game of Hanabi with someone who took it very, very seriously and did not care for all of us doing like little winks and nods and, well, that's or whatever. And he's like, you need to, he just shut us all down and like, okay, we will play the rest of this game in complete silence. And I don't know, I guess he had a good time for the rest of the game. And we just tried to lose as fast as we could.
Yeah, and again, they're mixing. This is almost kind of a weird mix because there are games where the communication is a facet of the game, and then there's party games like, well, they have times up here. So in times up, you can only say one word. Yes, that's limited communication, but that's also the party game.
Yeah.
That's not quite the same thing in my mind as the mind.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm so excited about this. Bringing it into cooperative games, which is not, traditionally it is, weird little party games of, charades is a limited communication game. It's maybe the grandpappy of all limited communication games. But when they're competitive or team, that's not what's really exciting. It's when although I guess that's what team is all about. Yeah. Is there a cooperative version of charades?
Yeah, it's called reverse charades. I like when a game has logical rules that you follow and you use that logic, like letter jam. Someone gives letters and I'll say, okay, they use this letter, they use that letter, they use that one. So therefore they must be trying to say this. Yeah. Or even the crew, the big new trick-taking game. You can only give out one piece of information, but how and when you do it tells me a ton. Yeah. And I love that. The games like The Mind or like the one with the robot that Plaid Hat did, where you program a robot together.
I'm thinking of Quirky Circuits. No, Quirky Circuits.
Yeah, yes. Quirky Circuits, right. Yeah. Those I'm not as fond of because it's basically just, let's not talk and you have to figure out what I mean. And that's why I'm not a big fan of Mysterium because I'm just not, because there's no rhyme or reason. With Dixit, I'm giving you a little information that is a clue. With Mysterium, you give me a card, and I'm just supposed to somehow know what you mean. And that is me winning the argument since he just went silent. I think maybe his camera died. Nope, he's back. I
think that sound is off. Was that me? Did I go?
You did.
Sorry about that.
And therefore, I won whatever we were arguing about.
Yes, you win. My last question. I assume you played First Contact, right?
Yeah, but see, First Contact is actually communication. It's just different communication.
Yes.
Actually, it's one of the most unique games I've ever played. I don't think it's for everybody, but it's you're essentially creating a language in the game, which is a really interesting concept. It's trying to be like the movie Contact.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out. I'm sure it must be on the list, but And Then We Held Hands is just such a simple, sweet little 2-player only game that is all about me getting into your mind, into your head, and understanding, well, from your perspective, you need that thing to be left open so you can get there. But that's the best place for me to go, and we can't openly discuss it, and we just have to try to maneuver this rocky relationship. And yeah, I love it. It's such a quick, easy way to add extra layers of depth if it's done well. And there certainly are examples of it being done poorly. Yeah.
Well, I already put in the subject line that we were doing 2 of these, so we might as well keep going.
I just
didn't think we'd talk about communication so much. But here, the next one is connections.
We talked about people separated. Now let's bring people together with connections.
Well, connections, they show 110 games here. I promise you that's low.
Yeah.
There's thousands of games where you are connecting things in a board. Obviously, the number one thing when we think of connections is train games. But I also tend to think of pipeline-style games like Suro and other games that where you're, have you ever played the old Queen game Metro?
Yes, I did actually.
Yeah, so you make these like connections. There's something about that. Even just last year, Pipeline, you made these pipeline connections, or the new 2-player one.
The Curious Cargo, yeah.
that has connections too. There's something for me with this mechanism that just feels satisfying. When I play a train game and I'm putting train tracks on the board and I finally connect 2 cities or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, I did that. It just feels good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I like it in part. I mean, for the same reason I like tile laying games just in general. The idea of once the game is over, look, this is a physical thing I have made. Look upon it. Isn't it wonderful? Or that we've made together if it's a Carcassonne or what have you. And one of the many ways you can make that fundamental challenge interesting is putting rules and restrictions. Oh, you can't just put tiles wherever you want. And making point A to connect to point B and dealing with, but I don't have the right bend if I hold on till later, like in a game like Avenue or something like that. It's really a lot of fun. And yeah, I think it's a little weird that, what did they say in the description for this? That it is related to network and route building, but more general, right? Which I guess so.
That's the problem, right? It's related to network and route building. I get what they're trying to say, but I would say network and route building are straight up subgenres of this instead of trying to say it's related to them.
Exactly. I mean, network and route building they are just connection games where you then use the connections you've built. It's just there's a step 2 in it.
Jeff Engelstein one of these days is going to come and just be like, "You guys do it. You make your own mechanisms." And I'll be like, "Well, no." Yep. There's a lot of roll and write games, but as you look through here, hands down, it's mostly train games. Although Android, I love how Android's on this list. Android has a mini game in it where you do little connections. Well, so does if you play Mansions of Madness. There's like a mini game where you're connecting things.
My gosh.
There might even be a connection thing in an unlock game somewhere, right? Well, I guarantee there is.
I'm absolutely positive there are. I feel like like fuse boxes and trying to get the line from one end to the other to reset the circuit breaker. I guarantee there's at least a half a dozen games.
Well, look, they have Watergate on here, which is technically a connection game, because one person is playing the publisher trying to connect pieces of evidence to Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon's trying to break those connections.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it is.
I don't know how the Oregon Trail card game got into both these lists. I would just like to reiterate, if you look at the ranking of Oregon Trail card game, it's 19,702. There is less than 20,000 ranked games on Board Game Geek. I'm just saying. But there's a lot of cool connection games in here. But there's Cable Car, Ticket to Ride, obviously. And like I said, I really feel like there could be a lot more in here. But there's a lot of abstract games that fit this category.
Yeah.
There's a lot of abstract games where you simply need to connect one side of the board to another or connect your home base to something else. I like those. I don't like them as much as 5 in a row, but I do like that style.
Is Connect 4 a connection game?
It better not be.
It's in the title.
It's a 4 or 5 in a row category, straight up. If you had to connect a certain spot on the board to another spot, I think if you just put something in a row, that's different.
Wow.
Connection
I
says...
think you just come up with a cool new Connect 4 variant, actually.
Well, I already saw one on Kickstarter where you can hook up like 8 boards together. And no, it's not worth your time. That's a joke. All right. Well, there you go. Those are all of our the board game mechanisms. It's time for a top 5 list.
All right.
Alrighty, everybody. Time for a top 5 list. Give us some topics.
Yeah.
Everyone's too busy talking about the new Board Game Geek layout.
All right.
Doesn't affect people like Rahdo who just go straight to subscriptions page.
I'm always surprised that there's so much drama over. I mean, what is the point of the front page? It's all about the subscriptions. You find.
Well, I would argue the point of the front page. The point of the front page is for people.
Look at every day with all my subscriptions.
For people who are new. Well, I like that they have the new dashboard, which is the old front page, where I have all the different modules that I like.
Yeah, and kudos to them for not just saying, "Oh, okay, that's gone. Here's the new thing. Learn to love it." That I thought that was a nice bit of outreach. How's it looking?
There's like several that I'm just not in the mood to do at all.
I
Um,
imagine, considering what
considering the
Tuesday it
date.
is.
Yeah. Oh, that one is very topical to me actually for today.
Okay.
We already did that one, arcade games. Um, let's see here. Ooh, I like that one a lot.
All right.
Do you remember what we did last time? I don't remember at all.
Let me look. All right. We did Essen, and then you never put the actual names in the titles after the fact like I do.
It's not me. It's my guys. I
Your
don't.
guys are falling
All
down the job.
right, I got 6 categories here. All right, here we
All
go.
right.
Ready? Some of them are
Yeah, yeah,
games.
yeah.
Some of them are not games. We got 5 ways to stop an alpha player.
Mm.
5 ways to make potatoes. That one's the topical one because I'm making dinner tonight, and potatoes is one of my things I'm doing. Um, top 5 annoying responses people give you when you tell them you review board games. Top 5 sci-fi worlds you would want to live in.
Ooh.
Top 5 movie pets. And top 5 game storylines.
Game storylines. And I'm going to assume we're going to keep that to board games.
I guess
You
we
go to
should.
video games, that's way too broad.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I mean, you could probably do a different one here.
Yeah. All right. I'm completely independent of your culinary decisions for later tonight. I love potatoes.
All right,
Potatoes.
that gives us more time for questions anyway. All right, so top 5 ways to
Boy,
make potatoes.
stick them in a stew. I can't remember Sam's quote. Dang it.
All right.
What's that?
So I'm gonna make potatoes tonight,
All right.
and I'm making them. I haven't yet picked my meat dish that I'm making, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm making asparagus and something else. I haven't decided. So, what would be a good way for me to make potatoes? I'm trying to make the dinner a little fancy. This is in my top 5. So, let's see. What would be your preferred way if you were having a fancy dinner of potatoes?
A fancy dinner, I like a nice baked potato. I like the flexibility that I get to. I mean, a baked potato is all about the toppings. Yes, of course, there's butter, but all the additional stuff. The chives, the onions, the sour cream, the bacon, the cheese, the different types of cheese. I never cook, and probably garnishing a baked potato is as close as I come to actually any kind of culinary.
All right. Well, I think we should put that on the list just as a general matter, of course, because I
Yes.
agree. As a kid, I didn't like baked potatoes because I didn't really care for the skins that much. But as time
Really?
has gone by, I don't care. Also, the way the baked potato is made changes that dramatically. You make a baked potato badly, the skin tastes awful. So what I'm going to do tonight probably is either, and they're so similar, I almost consider them in the same group, au gratin or scallop potatoes.
What is the
This
difference, actually?
I don't actually know. I think I just go follow the recipe. But the fact is it's cheese, cream, and potatoes, and it is marvelous.
Right. Yes. Oh, it is fantastic, and it's something I very rarely have. Probably because it's a little bit more work. And Jen is generally, when she makes food, she tries to be super hyper efficient. But yeah, I would definitely go for a au gratin pro. Yes. Oh man, I'm actually salivating a little bit just thinking about it.
Now we got to be
Yep.
careful because it's easy to throw out some things, but we're going to miss some. So let me just list a few here, and we'll
Okay.
see.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have mashed, obviously, and
Sure.
sideways of mashed, you have smashed, which is very similar. We
What is a
have
smashed versus a mashed?
you mashed, you actually blend it up, so it's very creamy and stuff. Smash, you
Oh.
just take the potato and smash it up, and it's much more chunky.
Oh, and that would be my preferred. I got nothing against the smooth, silky, almost cream-like, but yeah, I like. I also prefer chunky peanut butter to smooth.
We also have hash browns. We have
Yeah.
French fries. We have,
Yeah.
um, I consider these different than French fries, but I would say house fries because that's a very different thing. That's where
Yeah.
the real
Okay.
thick ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
and then you have diced potatoes. We have uh, potato chips, or sorry, crisps
Crisps.
for some of you watching. And when we say fries, we meant chips. I know it's all
Yeah.
very confusing.
It
We
is.
should have like some generalized thinking in this thing. Um, home fries, and even hash browns have like three main ways you can make them. You get the one where it's all together, like a tater tot, or like the
Yeah.
ones you get at McDonald's. Then you have the ones that are all mashed up. You know, uh,
The important thing for those is they got to be crispy. And honestly, I think if I were to try and name my number one way to have potatoes, it would probably be, diced. Diced, fried up. Um, is it called breakfast potatoes for some reason? So it's
I know what
I
you
absolutely
mean.
love those.
Those are quite good, especially do you put you like them with peppers in
Yeah.
in
Oh,
them.
totally, totally. Yep. All
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 right, I'll
kinds
put
of ways
those
you can
on
spice
there.
them, but they've got that crunch. They've got that potatoy goodness inside. They're. I mean, what isn't good fried? Even ice cream is good fried, and yeah,
What is that called? Is that home fries? That might be what home fries is. I'm actually
yeah.
not sure what the title of that is because I like when I go out to a breakfast. Yeah, I just did a home fries. That's definitely what it is. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, okay, that's the term. Then
Yeah,
that's probably my personal number one.
I will put that on the list. I don't think it's my favorite, um, but it's definitely in the top. I think my favorite is just mashed potatoes or smashed.
Again,
It's
do you prefer the chunky rather than the smooth?
sure. Well, I like
Okay,
them cheesy. I don't really care.
yeah. What about
You know
potato
what?
flakes? You didn't
You
mention
know what?
those.
I actually would veto. I think is potato chips because I like a few potato chips, but I just can't eat that many of them. I also think they're vastly inferior to pretzels.
Wow,
I know it.
those are fighting words. I mean,
Woo!
wh- potato chips are arguably the greatest snack food in the universe.
I would argue that French fries are the greatest snack food in the universe.
Yeah, but I mean, potato chips have such utility. They are the perfect long road trip snack. They've got the crunch, they've got the oil, they've got the taste, they've got the salt. I mean, potatoes are just the ultimate salt delivery vehicle. I mean, when it boils
Well,
right down to it.
you don't have to. You don't.
You,
Oh
so
yes.
are you saying they physically disagree with you?
No, no, no. I'm just saying I don't like them as much as I used to.
Weird.
I ate 10 chips and I'm done. All right, let me give you the other ones we haven't put on the list. So far we have baked, scalloped, breakfast, and or I'm sorry, home fries and
Yep.
smashed. Then these are ones we haven't put on yet. Hash browns, French fries, house fries, um, potato chips, potato soup, potato salad. Oh, and pierogies. Yeah, I didn't put pierogies. I would fight to the death on pierogies, but I don't
What
think
about
you've had them
latkes?
much. Huh?
I've never had them, but latkes?
Well, if you never had them, we can't even consider it.
Okay,
But
fair enough.
sure. Have you had
I'd like to
pierogies?
try them sometime. Oh man. Personally, I would. I mean, that's a tough choice between potato chips and just straight up French fries.
Well, see, but I'm saying
Um,
I won't say potato chips, so it has to be French fries. Then.
and I mean, of those finals, you would take French fries over
No, I wouldn't take them over
home
pierogies. I
fries,
think
or
pierogies are one of the greatest things ever made in the history of humanity. But
yeah.
I also realize that they're also very localized, and most people haven't had them.
Oh wait, the most important one that apparently you can only get once. Most of us can only get once a year in the old times.
No, I'm
Those
not putting
crazy
that.
potato
I'm not
spirals
putting that on the list.
that are just drowning in paprika. Those are the most amazing things ever.
Not, not. Well, you and Jason can eat one like Lady and the Tramp. He also goes gaga over those.
I just totally 100% visualized that. And
Alrighty. Oh, the
I mean,
German
French
potato
fries.
balls are also quite good. Yeah. Poutine. All right, we better get off this subject.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, folks, at this point, send us some questions
Yes.
and we will do our best to answer them. We got a half hour here. Lots of games we played recently, lots of upcoming things. I just got an email today from Aircon saying that they're on. They're in April.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Really? What date?
Like April 17th. That seems awfully close, but who knows?
I mean, if I can imagine it working with masks, with certain types of games. As I understand, I remember seeing an interview with Fauci several months ago where he said actual physical transmission from surfaces is a very, very minor concern. It's all respiratory. So,
well, maybe the vaccine will be out by April. Maybe that's what they're banking on.
Yeah, it could be. Interesting.
Well, we'll see. They were the last con actually before the con stopped. If you remember.
Wow. Okay.
Aircon
so
was
they're
the
just
last
not stopping
one.
for nothing.
Well,
nothing shuts down Aircon.
If you think about it, it's a good selling point. Like the only convention to not miss something.
COVID. Yeah.
I don't know. You know.
Oh, we're still waiting for questions. I got one for you. I mean, obviously, it's the end of the year. It's Essen time. All the big game of the year nominees are starting to show up. What's jumped out at you the most of everything you've seen so far? You know, since nobody could ask you that at Essen like normal, let's actually have.
Are we talking? Okay, if it's okay, let's be very specific because I'm not going to talk about the whole year because that's.
Oh yeah,
top
I'm just talking about the
up.
recent big ones. You know.
Of recent big ones, hands down, Dune Imperium.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I really was impressed with that game. I wasn't expecting to like it maybe as much as I did, but the combination of deck building and worker placement and antagonistic attacking with a strong Dune theme worked really well for me. Full review will come out later this week, folks. So I'm kind of spoiling out of it.
You just heard it, apparently.
Well, it's pretty solid. Second to that, what have I played lately? I'm thinking about, there's a lot. I mean, I played a lot of good games. I just played, you know what I played yesterday that I'm like, or not 2 days ago, I'm really fascinated to try it again, is New York Zoo.
Oh, the new one from, Uwe Rosenberg's continuing ongoing obsession with polyomino games.
Well, sure, right. And I thought that. I was like, oh, another polyomino game. But I think it wipes the floor with his trilogy that he did with Stronghold. Wow. And it's definitely not a heavy game, but it feels heavy. So I'm pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically him marrying two of his loves, right? Polyominoes and animal husbandry. Because it has the Agricolas. Yeah.
I was going through the rules like, if you have more than two animals, you still only have one baby. And everyone at the table's like, obviously, we don't need to hear that. All right. Well, what about you?
For me, what's it? The new Vladimir Suchy game, Praga Kaput Regni, is absolutely phenomenal. I believe that'll probably make a bunch of people's top 10s of the year or maybe it'll be too late and it'll be the following year, but whatever. I'm really blown away by that. And it doesn't quite count because it was on Kickstarter, but Kokopelli, which is a Stefan Feld game that you would not believe was designed by Stefan Feld unless somebody told you, unless you could actually see a quote from him because it's so different than anything else he's ever done. Paulo, the guy who does my rules goofs checks for me, he likened it more to a Carl Chuduk game. And I'm like, yeah, what would a Carl Chuduk game look like if it were designed by Stefan Feld? And that's far out.
Wait, what's this game again? What game was that one you were talking about?
Kokopelli.
Okay.
Yeah. It's being published by Queen. And but staying on Feld, we just got a copy of Castles of Tuscany the other day, and Jen and I were over the moon with it. We were both so blown away by it. And when I mentioned in my roundup the other day, it popped into my head. This is basically Feld taking Castles of Burgundy and crossing it almost with Ticket to Ride. And that's a really interesting new twist on one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm absolutely blown away by that one too.
All right, here we go. Question time. Yes, now they're in. We got a lot of them. Have you ever been able to turn an alpha player into a good player, and how?
No, I'm probably asked by the same person who wanted the top 5 ways to do it, I bet.
I just mention it a lot. And also, I look in the mirror.
Yeah. It's not really a problem for me and Jen. We're both, I think, have kind of alpha-ish tendencies, and we're
No.
basically on a level playing field. So we both roll over each other in equal amounts. I imagine playing with other people, it is something I would definitely want to keep in check myself, and just sit on it and stop telling people what to do. But if I were in a situation where somebody was telling me what to do, I would actually say, okay, look, everybody stop. There's a phenomenon in modern cooperative board game. It's called alpha gaming, where one player really unknowingly ruins the game for everybody else by trying to be too much of a control freak. Bob, that's you. None of us are having as much fun, and you have to have a little mini intervention. I think there's no other way around it, right?
Sure. Although that is trickier than it
Bob.
seems. All right. What's the best new show you've watched on TV or streaming?
Oh,
Well, why he thinks, for me, easily, it's the Goes Wrong show. I don't know what it is. I love that show so very much. I wish it was more than
what
six
is it?
episodes.
Is it
It's
X
called
goes
the
wrong?
Goes Wrong show. It's a BBC comedy troupe, and they put on a play, 6 different plays, and everything possibly goes wrong. It's all fake. I mean, so the stuff is going wrong, and the actors are trying to act around it. And I don't know that I've ever laughed out loud
Wow,
as
I've
much
never
at
even heard
as
of
a
it.
show as that. Also, the
So it's a
Mandalorian
BBC
season,
show.
yeah.
Okay.
And if Mandalorian season 2 is as good as episode 1, then I'm just going to say that straight up.
No,
I,
I
I,
have not watched that yet because my mom wants to watch it with me because she loves that Baby Yoda. But easily best show in years as far as I'm concerned is Ted Lasso, which I think
oh,
it's on
I'm
Apple.
that's in my top 5 easy because I just like a show. For once, they have a show about a nice guy.
Yeah,
Well,
who's
every show
good
seems to
at
be
his
about
job,
jerks.
is quietly confident, is incredibly likable. I mean, in that show, you watch the first episode, oh, I see where this show is going. He's the lovable bumpkin, but there's so much more. There are so many layers going on in that show. It's just such an insanely powerful beacon for positivity and hope. And I mean, I've watched the entire season twice now, and I never do that.
What's fascinating about the show is that he's kind of goofy, but
Yeah.
he's really self-aware, which
Yes.
is almost never in a character. Almost always they're like do stupid stuff, and people are like, "Do you know what you're doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I know what I know that you think this is silly, but I'm going to do it anyway."
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it, and I was just complaining the other day that I'm sick of shows that have the main character be a jerk, and this is the
Yeah.
far extreme of that. So
Yeah.
I am with you on that. All right, what's your favorite type of solo game? Beat your own score or an AI deck like the Automania or Dummy Player? Or what's your favorite kind of solo game?
Beat your own score is the worst. You know what? I have to admit, even as a kid, I wasn't that much into ensuring my initials were on the scoreboard down at the local arcade. Maybe just because I could never quite get high enough on Space Invaders to do it. But I just do not find that compelling. And obviously, it kind of feels like it's a little cheap on the developer's part. At the very least, put a scoreboard with target scores for me to try to hit, as opposed to just beat my previous. That's just dull and boring. I like personally the extra level of of an actual virtual opponent that I can anticipate in some way, because there's a lot of ways you can do it. I can see half of their card before they reveal it, or there's lots of different neat tricks. But I am happy if the developers just put this is an excellent score, this is an okay score, you should be embarrassed score. That's all they really need to do.
All right, my favorite is basically finish some sort of quest, whether that
Sure.
be an escape room and I solve it on my own,
Yeah.
or a game like Gloomhaven where I'm following a storyline. Because I found that when I play games, like my favorite game from last year of all time was Le Havre, and I love Le Havre, but I found that playing the computer opponent was okay for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or playing a solo game, but you give me Gloomhaven, now I'm playing against a mission and I need to beat that
Yes.
mission. And if I beat it, I can go do something else. And that's why I'll do escape rooms of my own too, because again, I'm trying to I'm I'm doing a goal.
Good answer.
Alrighty. What's um these two questions almost tie together for me. One person asked the biggest surprise of the year in gaming, but Jesse says, as the board game renaissance continues, do you expect to see more sequel games like Castles of Tuscany coming out? And so, as I was putting together my ratings for the year, I was scheduling a list of them. It blew my mind how many games have come out this year that are either a straight reprint of an older game, whether it's Project Elite or Cleopatra and a Society of Architects. There's so many of those, or it's a continuation like Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, or it's a straight sequel like Castles of Tuscany. There is a ton of that this year. I'm not talking about a few games. I'm talking about I can make a whole top 10 list of them easily, and they could even be in my favorite games of the year.
Yep. This is the nature of it. And the questioner was right to couch it the way it is. I believe it is an inevitable part of the growth of this industry. As we go further and further away from our little niche origins into true pop culture zeitgeist, you are going to see publishers realizing that, whoa, there are big numbers I could potentially hit. In the old days, it didn't matter whether you were doing a reprint or a new thing. You were going to sell 2,000 or 3,000 copies anyway. But now that there are more and more people, more and more dollars on the line, it's just good business sense to choose to put out a product that the audience has already proven they have an appetite for. That's why movies are constantly all about sequel, because you know what? Once upon a time, a lot of people went and saw RoboCop. I could take a total shot in the dark on a thing nobody's ever heard of, like Upgrade. Maybe it'll hit, maybe it won't. Or we can just do another RoboCop because there's already built-in interest in that. With all these millions on the line, it's a no-brainer. And I think you're going to see that as the game industry our game industry catches up with the video game industry and the movie industry and whatnot. I remember reading once something like, you don't quite realize it, but like 80% of all feature films are not new original screenplays. They're just adaptations of popular books that, were on the New York bestseller 5 years ago. And they choose that because the book proved it has an audience. And you're going to see that more and more and more as audiences for us get bigger and bigger.
All right. Do you think the virtual spiel was successful?
You'd have to tell me. I didn't actually look at it.
Well, then it wasn't successful for you in a sense because you didn't go look at it. I went and messed with the site for a little while. I was going to go buy a couple games that I thought, they're SM releases. And then I went and clicked on the shipping and I was like, wait. I am hearing different things. Publishers who put everything into it, CGE and a few other publishers, have said, it worked really well for us. The majority of publishers seem to think no, which is problematic for everybody involved. Because there's, we want no one. I don't think anybody is rooting for these virtual cons to not do well.
Yeah.
But the fact is they're just not the same thing, and pretending that they are isn't really fooling anybody anymore. Because you could say, well, Zoom is just like meeting in person. It's not. Playing a game on Tabletop Simulator is just like playing at the same table with somebody. No. So that doesn't mean they're bad things, but they're clearly different. And I'm thinking the audience for both are different. Someone like me who likes to jump in a room and be like, woo, who's here? Let's talk. You don't get that on an online thing. Unless it's like my own channel and everyone's watching me. But that's different, And so, I don't know.
The biggest thing that confused me, I did actually look, I misspoke earlier. I did go log on and I looked at it, and I saw right off the bat that they made the exact same mistake, from my perspective, that the Gen Con virtual convention did as well. And it's because, every year you actually go to the real physical convention, you get a map, and you say, I need to go check out what Rio Grande Games is putting out. Okay, here's where it is on the map. I'm going to walk over there. In real life, when you physically walk over there, along the way, you'll just be passing by all kinds of booths, and you'll see all kinds of stuff. And it's such a cool, wonderful voyage of discovery. And so what both Gen Con and Essen did is, hey, let's just make a virtual version of that same map of our convention hall. And it was basically a list of all the different publishers. But it cut out the heart of the experience, walking from one place to another, which is why I've been saying for a while now, if you want to put together a successful virtual convention, do not make it publisher centric, make it game centric. Make the default web interface for this be something that looks like Pinterest, where you just have an endless scrollable cascade of gorgeous animated GIFs of game images, and some are bigger, some are smaller, because of course some publishers will pay more to get premium big images, and publishers put in the time to make gorgeous images of your stuff, so that I'm just scrolling through, oh my gosh, look at all these things, so many things to click, what do I do? And then you click on one of those, it takes you to a page where there's already a video, where there is a Tabletopia module set up if I want to go and virtually look at the pieces and shuffle through the deck and all the stuff I would do in real life. They just totally a fundamental failure of presentation, at least in these two big ones, not making them game-centric, but making them
I think that's a
publisher-centric.
tricky thing to pull off, because it's not just the booths. If I'm walking to a booth, I'll see you and I'll be like, Richard, Ham, what? This is awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll stop
Yeah.
and talk. And yes, it's just not the same. It isn't the same at all. And I don't know that it's possible. So I'm feeling like they need to just delve and make it something else.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, if it's an endless streaming wall and it's mostly about games, but then every once in a while, they're literally, as I'm scrolling, oh my gosh, there's Tom Vassell. And they had you or me or Rodney Smith or Ignazi or whoever record little things saying, hey, how you doing? Or making observations about stuff that's
make a robot.
us.
Someone says, is that Richard?
That would be a
good
gimmick,
to meet you,
but it would certainly be a
Jonathan.
gimmick that would make people keep scrolling to see, well, what else is in here? If you
Sure,
surprise.
but I think the biggest problem with this is that all these people are experts at running conventions. They are not experts at making digital places. They're two totally different skill sets.
Yep.
And I don't know. Let's just hope that Gen Con and Essen are back next year and they don't do it again.
Yep. Touch wood.
All righty. Thunder Alley is my favorite racing game. Are you planning on watching the NASCAR Championship this Sunday? They took it away from Miami. I know. So I don't know if you know this, but I'm only mentioning this briefly. I don't care about NASCAR racing at all. But the NASCAR Championship traditionally has taken place in Homestead, Florida, 2 miles from my house.
Okay.
There's a racetrack there. So I guess it took away from our economy a little bit, I suppose. But will I miss the traffic? No. Will I miss the fact I'm not exaggerating. I am 2 miles as a crow flies from the racetrack. So not hearing the constant buzzing of bees, for 48 straight hours, I'm okay. What's the orange game and the 2 green games behind me on the top shelf? So that is, whoops, wrong way.
Oh, okay.
So that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shadows of the Past Works. That was a cooperative Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game on Kickstarter. Well, apparently they released 2 more versions of the game, Changes Constant and City Fall. So I have all 3 of them sitting there because I'm trying to figure out what duplication there is between the games. It's problematic to me. And then which ones do I keep? If so, here's what I don't like. And I think this is naughty on IDW's part. So I don't know how much you know about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But there's these 2 new boxes, City Fall and Changes Constant. Which one is the base box? Well, neither. They're both base boxes. That sounds good. But one of them has the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in it as the main characters. Michelangelo, Donatello, etc. The other one has Shredder and the other April O'Neil and the other main characters in it. Splinter, that's in the other box. So they have generic bad guys and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in one box. They have generic good guys and the main bad guys in the other box. Boo to that. If you're a fan, you have to get both boxes. Right?
Yes, if you're a turtle head.
I don't even know what a turtle fan is called? Is it Shellhead?
I I don't know. I literally just made up Turtlehead, but I'm going to stick by it. But Shellhead makes a lot of sense too. Heroes in a half shell, turtle power. Yeah.
um, let's see. Someone said the new Queen's Gambit show is great. That's about the girl playing chess. I actually want to watch that just to see what it's
I have
like.
been hearing nothing but I must watch it over and over. I mean, you should, because you used to be a diehard chess aficionado, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I know, but I
it on all
might bring
kinds of
back
levels.
bitterness. I don't know. Given that there's an available effective vaccine, well, not yet, but soon it will be available, I suppose. Do you believe folks will flock back to cons or instead cautiously attend?
I suspect even in the absence of a viable vaccine, people would flock back to cons if they were set up right now.
See, I think
Just
it's kind of
based
a
on
mix.
the behavior I'm seeing in our country.
I think that if they opened a con, well, let's say that legitimately it can happen. There's a vaccine, and maybe there's still some lingering things, but for the most part, we can get back together. Let's say that happens. I think you're still going to have a percentage of people who are going, you know what, one more year. I just want to be safe. And I'm not, I want to be clear, I'm not faulting these people at all, okay? But I also think there's a group of people who go, there's a convention. I haven't been to any convention for a year. I don't care what it is. I don't care where it is. I'm going. So I think it will be the same. That's my call.
Yeah. I think as soon as one steps up, maybe it's AirCon, they'll see a 20% drop off of their normal numbers, something like that. And I believe that would be the case if Scott Alden had decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead with Board Game Geek Con in Dallas in November. I think he would have seen a 20 or 30% drop off, and there still would have been plenty of people who are like, I'll take my chances because it's not that bad. And, I know this isn't a political show, so I'll leave it at that. But I do think that's the reality.
All righty. Well, let's see. I'm not going to do all the Star Wars stuff because I don't want to see you get riled up. I've seen the copious volumes of stuff you've written online about Star Wars.
Oh, I'll get going.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
We're both Last Jedi fans.
Yeah, but I don't know. Where do you put 9 in the whole thing?
It is not the worst one, but I think it's like in the bottom 3.
Oh, okay. Then maybe we do agree.
Yeah.
Although I will once again say the same thing I say to everybody about the first set of prequels is I came out of 9 and I was like, it's full of holes and this and that and this doesn't make any sense. And my kids were like, oh, well, we enjoyed it. And I thought, okay, I'll shut up. They enjoyed it. So what does it matter? It's a generational thing. And if they liked it, what do I don't have to watch it again. And so, let's see. Now people are talking about Star Wars for a while. Now they're talking about Sean Connery, who just passed away. Do you see board game marketing forming around IP characters unique to board gaming in the future, like video games and Master Chief, Mario, Sonic, etc.? Not successfully. I don't think there's a single character in a game that's other than Mr. Monopoly who has any name recognition. Like there's the robber in Catan.
Board game franchises that would punch out into the broader market.
Well, no, I think they're saying a board game marketing form around like, hey, this character shows up in all our games. Look, it's this character from a game, but what characters even have that strong a personality that they pop out of a game?
You've got
if you say Bob, I'm gonna
Tin Can Pete, and all the Arkham characters. They keep showing up in every. There's that.
Yeah, but
it's not. But that's. Yeah, when we actually get Tin Can Pete and his dog as the only characters, and it's a whole game about him, would that do well? That would certainly get attention. It really would.
Well, it would show where Fantasy Flight is with their marketing right now.
That's true. Yeah, what character, what mascot style characters does our industry have? The kitty cats from Calico? No. The cows from Agricola? No.
There's the robber from Catan, but he's not even a character. He's just a nameless robber. There's Bob from Time Stories, who I wanted to punch repeatedly. There's
Yeah, I mean, the problem with it is the nature of our preferred form of entertainment is it's not about, at the end of the day, it's not about the characters. We are the characters. You can get a franchise out of a TV show or a movie or a cartoon or a video game because the characters themselves come to life. You see them, you hear them, they walk, they talk, they move, they do things, they crack jokes. None of that happens in our industry. Players crack the jokes. Players move the stuff around. So I think the closest we ever get would be that equivalent of the old Time magazine Person of the Year, and it was a crappy mirror. You are the Person of the Year. We are the mascots of
I
our
still
industry.
think that was pretty. I don't know. I felt
You
that to
remember
be
that,
cheap. I thought that was cheap.
Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah, we can't come up with anything about. Yeah.
Just come
They've
up
always
with
got that in
somebody.
their back pocket if they need it.
But the mirror. Let's do it again. Like I'd be very curious to who they will pick this year.
Yes.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's gonna be Fauci.
That's a good call. That's an excellent call.
Love him, hate him, dislike, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's definitely the focal point, at least in America. So not worldwide for sure, but that's interesting. Like who else? Because they don't pick someone necessarily who's like everyone loves. They just pick someone who's
representative of the year as a whole.
They might put like first responders. They might do something like that. They've done that in the past.
Yeah, that's
Remember
cool.
they did whistleblowers one year for the Enron thing or whatever. They did the whistleblowers were like the thing. I could see first responders being their people of the year.
Yeah, and that would be awesome.
Oh, sure.
Get on that committee, Tom.
No. No, I'm perfectly content. I usually don't have a problem with whoever they pick for man or woman of the year, but then when they do the top 100 people, sometimes I look at some of those people and I'm like, what? Huh? Who? Why? That person? What? But then again, it's my own personal likes and dislikes. Maybe that person does have that kind of emphasis on the world in general. At the end of the day, same people say same things about our top 10 lists. Yeah. So, alrighty. Well, people just got all caught up in the things we were talking about.
They forgot this is a question and answer. It's not answers and more answers.
Actually, someone here brought up the thing. A character, the Meeple has had things.
Oh, that's a good point.
We just had a game, Meeple Land, come out.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, that it is interesting that. Who was it? Was it Carcassonne? And was it the Carcassonne figurines? I remember it was a
as far as I can tell,
gamer who called the Meeples and she got to catch on. I think.
Yes, they were either. It's a little hazy, because there's like no exact thing when it comes to the internet. She was either calling them mini people or my people, one of those two, which shortened down to Meeple. And of course, as soon as I say it, someone's gonna be like, "It's definitely this." But unless that woman comes forward and specifically writes an essay on the subject, we don't really know.
Yeah.
And it just started getting used on the internet to a little degree, and then became bigger and bigger till now everyone calls them that without even blinking.
Yeah.
So I think Carcassonne used it in the rules itself at some point, but they didn't trademark
They ultimately adopted
as
it
far as I can tell. And some games now use it, I think, without even realizing that I wouldn't use it myself.
If you're thinking, anybody out there is thinking about starting their own board game YouTube channel, I think the sun has set on putting Meeple in your title. You got to come up with something else.
Preach it. Yeah, I'm right there with him. So also, if you use the word board as a synonym or a homonym for board, stop it. That's also been done. Yep. So, alrighty. Well, hey, it's about 3 o'clock.
All right, we made it.
So we'll see you all in 2 weeks, hopefully. Lots of different things. What can people look forward to seeing on your channel in the coming week?
Well, we will be doing a live playthrough on the 15th, Jen and I. We do one every month. You'll be seeing this next month or next week. And everybody, you mentioned Dune Imperium. You just made it all the more. I must get that covered this month because it is apparently the bee's knees. I'm not going to like it though, am I?
I don't know how you'll feel on it because it's
Yeah.
not so much combat as area control. And I have not played with the app either because I know with 2 players it uses an app.
Oh, right. Yes.
But Mike says the app is phenomenal.
Okay.
So I don't know. So, alrighty, folks. We'll see you later. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Rahdo.
Have fun voting.
Yes.